else's is always so nice. Do like a virtual screen or something. Mine's fuzzy.
Okay, you are live, Mrs. Romano. You may begin the meeting.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Shelton Board of Education regular meeting of the Teaching and Learning Committee. Tonight we are virtual. We were expecting some snow. I think it cleared up, but you never know. It is 4:30 p.m. We will call the meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Amy Romano.
Here.
Patricia Moonen.
Here.
Lorraine Rosner is absent. Kate Kutash.
Here.
Also in attendance, Ken Saranich, Kristen Santilli, Tracy Hussey, and Tina Xavier.
If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, can I please get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Let's see, moving on to item number 3, review and approval of the following reports to the committee. The approval of the meeting minutes from the Teaching and Learning Committee on January 14th, which was our course selection for the high school.
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on, public comment. Kaylee, did anyone send in anything?
No.
Okay, then I will say there is no public comment this evening. Agenda items. Okay, so tonight our meeting will be regarding special education. We do have our director of special ed here, Mrs. Tracy Hussey. Hello, Tracy. How are you?
Good evening.
Good. So I'm going to turn this meeting over to Tracy. The first topic is the review of mid-year data. I will let you start unless Ken had something to say before Tracy chimed in.
I just want to say something to Tracy. Tracy, you should be able to share your screen. Just let me know if it's not working. But I think I fixed it, so you should have the ability.
Thank you. Okay. Can you see the mid-year report?
Yep.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
we can see it. Yep.
Okay. Just going to make that a little bit larger for you. I just thought it would be a good time of the year to go through current numbers. We did this a couple of times last year, so I'm happy to just review where we are at this point in the year and answer any questions that you might have. Looking at April of 23-24, the last time that I shared the total numbers of special education students identified, we were at 890, and now at this point in the school year, January 2024, we're at 920 identified students. And then broken down by category, identification category of special education are those numbers as a comparison as well. Any questions on that?
Tracy, these were the same numbers that we got. Did anything change, or these are the same exact numbers that we just got through budget?
The top grid, I do not believe that we made any changes. I did make a couple of changes, I believe, down towards the bottom that I'll go over with you.
Okay.
Okay. Now, as far as the staffing, staffing has not changed. So no change there. I will go over the DIRG-D comparisons with you after I kind of go through all of the information. And
one quick question, if I may.
Sure.
You show 94 paraprofessionals. Are you still seeking others to fill empty roles?
So far, the 94 paraprofessionals are including those positions that are currently open.
How many of those are there?
Right now, I think we only have 2 remaining open.
Good.
We have 2 long-term sub as well. We started off the year with many open positions, and we've been working through the year to fill them. And I'm happy to say that just following the holiday, we got several really good qualified people. So we've been able to to make buildings whole. So that's been great.
Great.
Also,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Tracy, I'm
Sure.
going to interrupt you really quick. And I hate to do this to you, but I just was looking at the upper chart, and it just a quick question. Because I know that, how your data is broken down, but I don't think I just out of curiosity, I want to know myself when I look at, the data. Someone that has a specific learning disability, 242 students, would you be able to share just what that looks like really quick?
Sure.
Like,
So
who would classify in that?
Yep, specific learning disability kind of captures weaknesses primarily with written expression, math, or reading.
Okay.
And reading category, there's a multidisciplinary specific learning disability worksheet that teams use for eligibility. And it takes a look at all interventions that have been tried and implemented for students. It takes a look at whether it's a lack of instruction, whether it's a language issue because maybe they're new to the country. It takes a look at several factors, and it's all based on not only the grades that we see in the classes, but also based on standardized assessment. So part of whether it's an initial evaluation to special education or a triennial evaluation, if a student is identified as having a specific learning disability, we'll look at academic achievement testing, and we'll find if there's designated weakness, we will identify for those categories that somebody may qualify for, whether it be writing, math, or reading.
So those people are accommodated within the district.
Yes. So most of our students with specific learning disabilities are accommodated within the district.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get a feel for that
Sure.
area, which now makes sense. The minute you said it, I was like, I should have known that. But I just, as soon as you started talking,
Yeah, sure.
it made sense instantly looking at the other areas. Thank you.
Yep. Please feel free to ask any questions along the way. Also, what we try to do is capture for you some of the movement that we see within the district. So who has entered the district with out of district IEPs. So we know when that happens, there's also a cost factor because we honor those IEPs, and we have to sometimes then place those students into schools outside of our district. So from the summer, we've had 4 that have moved in with out of district IEPs. We've been able to exit 23 students this year so far, which is nice to see. That's always a celebration when somebody can return to general education without needing special education support. We've had 66 new students move in this school year, 67 students move in this school year. We were able to basically find eligible the students that we've tested and found eligible to date, 77 students. And then we've had students that have also left our school district to, relocate. That number is at 63. And currently our homeless status students that are considered homeless is at 23, which is a nice decrease from last year. Any questions on that? Okay. As far as our out of district updates, so that first section that you see, parental placement, those are students who choose to have their child attend a school outside of Shelton. So it might be our magnet schools, it might be our school choice or our VOAGs, it could be the technical schools, and then it also may be unilateral placements where parents may decide to take their child and place them into a private school. So that number right now currently is 14. We have 40 students that are in private placements. And private placements, according to this, encompasses our private, public, so like ACES, CES, or Ed Advance. But then it also includes private placements that kind of run as separate entities. And some of those examples might be Cedarhurst, Westport Day, High Road Academy, We have 40 students currently in private placement, so we're down by 3 from last year. And then where we see a jump is our 18 through 22 programming. So we have students that are at ACES and CES primarily, as well as Ed Advanced post-university in their transitionary planning program. And that number at 12 is partially due to the fact that we've had 2 shifts and changes in law with 18 through 22 programming. Students used to exit at 21 years old. Then they updated and changed the law to when students turn age 22. So they were kind of exiting throughout the course of the year. For instance, if somebody had, let's say, an October 17th birthday, their exit date would be October 16th. But then they changed the law again to the end of the 22nd year school year. So what that's done is it's created in several different occasions for this year, students receiving an entire additional year of programming.
Where do students like Holy Trinity fit in here?
Students from Holy Trinity are considered parental placement. So in that
Okay.
first category.
Okay.
Okay. Our CDAC numbers are there. So those are our child count numbers. These are the October 1 counts when we look at special education. They also do an end of the year count, but as you can see, like from 21-22 to 24-25, you've got a slow but steady increase of special education identification. Where we're seeing the biggest drive and the biggest movement is in pre-K. We've had 67 new students that have come to our district, as far as moving in. And then we're also seeing really large influxes of referrals from birth to 3. As you know, and we talked about in the budget process, our pre-K numbers are really growing rapidly. And lastly, is just kind of a grid for you that takes a look at the state's identification rates. So the top grid is the state of Connecticut. And what you see there, excuse me, I'm trying to make this bigger for you, but let me see it. Hold on one second here. There we go. They're at 17.9%. Now remember that this is 22 or 23, 24 data. And then when you look at Shelton's averages, we're 1% below at 16.7%. But if you look at the state trend in comparison to Shelton's trend, it's very similar. So we're really kind of falling in line with the state averages where there's a slow and steady increase in identification rate. And that's it for the quarterly report. Any questions that I can answer?
Do you ever happen to talk to, any other districts and see, where they're seeing, as far as that data goes, like what areas they see an increase in?
So most districts, from people that I talk to, so yes, we have monthly director meetings at Concase. They're held at ACES. We often have, a lot of conversation based around our identification rates, and where there's a lot of commonality is seeing a rise in autism, as well as students with mental health issues, which fall under the bucket of emotional disability or other health impairment for issues such as anxiety, depression, and also what we're seeing is an increase in ADHD as well.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious on what, right, what they're seeing the increases in too, to see if there's trends.
Right.
Tracy,
What I
Tracy,
wanted to,
oh, quick question,
sure.
just for clarification, the magnet school students, are those numbers just students with IEPs that attend those magnet schools?
Yes, those are the students with IEPs
Okay.
that attend the magnet schools. We have many more students that do not have
Yes,
IEPs.
that's why I wanted to clarify.
That go to our BOAG, go to our, our technical schools as well as our magnets. All right, I am going to open up for you the DIRG-D comparisons. So I just think it's important to highlight, some of the information of where we fall in comparison to our counterparts, our people that are in our DIRG. So let me pull that up for you. And please just let me know when you see it. Is it visible?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tracy,
Okay.
it's good. We can see it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking at it, so I don't see you. So you're going to have to kind of give me a shout out if it's not visible or somebody's having an issue. So what I did was I collected all of the towns in our DIRG and I took a look at, but you have to remember that these numbers are based off of what's available on EdSite, which is a year behind. So I took a look at the 22-23 count in comparison to the 23-24 identification rate, as well as how many certified teachers districts have, how many paraeducators they have, what's their out of district placement rate, as well. And now the out of district placement rate is also behind. So the out of district placement rate that's available for viewing on EdSite is from the special education annual reports. And the annual reports, the most current annual reports are from the year 21 or 21-22. Now keep in mind that from 21-22, your out of district number currently is a little bit lower here in Shelton. I also took a look at the mental health ratio of school psychologists, so the ratio of staff to student, as well as social workers, school counselors, special education teachers, and paraprofessionals. So all of those numbers are there for you, and they're available within the document that was sent to you. And basically down at the bottom, we're 22 out of 23 is having the highest ratio of special ed students to teachers. And we're 21 out of 23 for social workers, 21 out of 23 for psychologists, and 22 out of 23 for paraeducators. I think, our staff, works very diligently at, meeting our students' needs, with the staff and resources that we have available to us. I don't really know why Brantford's data was missing, but I did note that that data was missing from EdSite.
When you're saying we have the highest ratio, meaning for better?
We have the highest ratio of number of students to teacher.
Okay.
So there is only one or two other districts that have a higher, ratio of students to our, targeted staff here, the psychologists, social workers, school counselors, and paraeducators.
So they're employing more people in those fields.
Most of the DIRG towns have a lower ratio,
Right.
meaning that their case management numbers as well as their direct service numbers for the amount of kids that they service are lower.
This should be for the who's in the Board of Aldermen when we're looking at special ed financing, pointing out that we have so few.
Absolutely, it could be a talking point. I think it's important. The reason that I share it with you is because I do want to, highlight our staff. I think they do amazing and extraordinary work. And I think it's important for us to, do this comparison because it does highlight that we certainly are not overstaffed.
Yeah, we're not. With the pre-K children coming in, because when we look at just say, back to that data sheet, which I printed, and then, you always want to get these kids, the goal always is to, of course, get them the help and dismiss them when time is when they've reached their goals. But obviously some kids might never come out because of their specific disability. But obviously some that, speech and language or this or that, certain ones, it could eventually graduate, right? For the pre-K kids, I know that last time we had a budget meeting, but last year we talked about the autism rate in coming in for pre-K. I don't know if it's too premature to see what the trend is coming in. That is it that again, or is it going to be speech and language? Like, what are you guys seeing with those students if you have that data yet?
We're seeing more and more of students coming in with an actual diagnosis
Okay.
versus in the past, or you can use developmental delay. And if you said 5 years ago, 80% of our kids were coming, 85% were coming in with developmental delay, and now that's kind of trending and changing the pendulum, and we're getting more and more IEPs from birth to 3 with a diagnosis already in place, whether it be autism or speech or other labels.
I do think that the trend for autism continues to be a high percentage, and how that impacts. So they participate in preschool, but what we are seeing is that their significant needs are more complex, and what that means is when they're graduating preschool, they're graduating into recommendation for specialized programming, particularly our Alternative Learning Center, which focuses on ABA and DTI instruction for people on the spectrum.
Right.
So, that's a trend that's a shift as well. In previous years, prior to the past 2 years or 3 years, those referrals to specialized programs were much lower. So what we have is our alternative learning centers. We just met on the schedule for next year, and their numbers just starting off the year are already at 16 and 13 in the kindergarten room. So, those are numbers that we have to be mindful of as well,
Right.
because when you have specialized programs, one of the most driving important factors is maintaining a good student to teacher ratio, student to staff ratio. So when you have very, very high numbers, it's likely that progress will not be at a rate that could be comparable to a smaller ratio with more individualized instruction.
I'm curious again on the ratio, and I'm thinking, I know, Ken, you've been doing climate surveys, and Tracy, I know you talk to your people. Do you hear stress levels from the SPED teachers about their caseload? Is that a concern?
Well, I mean, Kristen and I had a meeting today to talk about pre-K, and the pre-K coordinator talked about the level of stress for pre-K case management, because they're really case managing at this point 25 to 26 students, which is a lot of the paperwork associated with IEP management, progress monitoring,
Yeah.
and conducting those PPT meetings 2 to 3 times a year at times, along with the associated IEP work, is daunting. And the pre-K teachers for sure are feeling it, as well as the high school. And that's why we're so thankful on that high school special education position, because their case numbers are up to 25 as well. That they're certainly struggling with management of that too. Those are the 2 pockets of people that I've talked to about it. I haven't heard much concern shared at other levels at this point.
Because it will be reflected in teacher retention, because special ed teachers are needed everywhere. And if they might give them an incentive to leave if they get a better caseload. Not that I'm encouraging it by any means, but it's a concern.
Well, you never know though. They could say, oh, I'm going to go to, Trumbull and I'm not going to have a high caseload. And then a whole bunch of kids go in and
Always.
not just run
always
right out the
the-
door.
That's always the,
You know, the grass is definitely not going to be greener on the other side, but I would probably say, like, if the paperwork is extraordinary because things are, you know what I mean, they have a heavy caseload, it's like, how can we help them with the paperwork?
right, exactly.
Well, you know, because the caseload could be there no matter what district you go to.
Yep.
That's true.
Right.
Yep,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
absolutely.
we know that, you know,
Absolutely.
look at the numbers when you just put it up, you know, everybody is struggling right now, and clearly statewide with the same percentages. We're practically neck and neck.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Yep.
like, right, how could we be, you know, I would probably be like, how can we help them in other ways
Mm-hmm.
to so that they could focus on the kids?
Amy, and Kate, just to note, in pre-K specifically, they have 2 full-time paraprofessionals in their rooms
Yeah.
at all times. So it's encouraged that the paraprofessionals assist with taking that data on the goals and objectives. So, you know, it's the 3 of them, the 3 of them working on that, and that is somewhat of a bit of help to the special ed teacher in order to track and maintain the data that they need. But it's obviously not, you know, it's not wonderful, but it's
Right.
for them. It's good that they have those extra set of hands, and we encourage our sped staff to train the paras on how to take the data and you know, work as a team.
When the kids are in pre-K, they still probably have a pull out, right, for certain services like speech and all that. No?
For related
They-
services, yes.
They
Yeah.
can, but I will say, like, specifically, I know of one team that they are trying to do like a push-in model for OT, PT, and speech actually at the same time. And it's working out very well. So they're trying different ways to get, you know, the services in for all of the kids in the most efficient manner. But
Right.
doing it, if they can push in, benefits all students in the classroom.
What's our ratio running with normal peers? Typical peers?
We're between 30 and 30-ish to 40%. So
Yeah.
we're being very mindful because we're getting so many more referrals for special education. So
And at Mohegan, it's more like 25% at this point. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. I'm going to present to you a shift and change in the IEP, which I feel is a very good shift and change. It was something that was discussed at the beginning of when they launched CT SEDS, and it was the alignment piece to the state standards. When CT SED's platform first launched, there were a lot of technical issues with the data platform, and they kind of put a pause on the alignment factor. But that has recently been introduced, and it launched in January. And I'm going to kind of walk you through what it looks like. Okay. Once again, I'm sharing, and if anybody has any issue with viewing, please let me know. What we'll do is we'll just take a look at the explanation of the change on the IEPs. We'll review how our staff was prepared for it, what the benefits are, and what our staff as a whole kind of felt as important takeaways through our training as well as our launch. And then I'll answer any questions that you have. So basically, when I did this presentation, it was upcoming, but that change has taken place. It took place in January, and basically the State Department of Education enabled a feature in CT SEDS that allows for alignment to the reading, writing, and math goals to the Common Core state standards. It's also activated for the early learning developmental standards, or the ELDS, for our pre-K early learners. So what that means is that we're looking at those Common Core learning standards that are grade level appropriate, and then we're thinking about how people with disabilities meet those grade level standards. So we take a look at all of the different factors, such as the accommodations, modifications, universal design for learning, strategies, that the classroom teachers have, and specifically designed instruction and assistive technology to help guide them up to meet those standards. We prepared our staff on election day. So our entire PPS staff had a presentation from one of the CERC coordinators that was actively involved in preparation and planning for this. And we had some really good dialogue about the how and the why. He shared some excellent resources with the staff that aren't only good resources for our special education and related service providers, but also for general education staff. And what we really found through the conversations that we had was how important the partnership is with general education teachers in developing the IEP. One conversation, really struck me. We had Long Hill School had a table, and we were talking about the PPT and the IEP, and the general education teacher often kind of giving a little bit of background, right? And then leaving the PPT meeting because, oh, maybe there isn't a substitute to cover the classroom. And we talked about how maybe we need to be work more methodically about who can provide that coverage, because how important it is for the general education teacher who has the student in the classroom for most of the day to be more involved in the process. So, what really shined through to us was general education and special education and the need for a true partnership. And what are the benefits? When we look at using those grade level standards and then thinking about what somebody's present level of performance is, and then what they need to be able to help them is the benefit. So when we look at what is grade level appropriate, and then we think about the condition statements, such as what assistive technology might be needed, or with the support of what type of adult support, or how we organize, or how we provide visuals, or graphic organizers, those types of conditions that lead somebody to be able to access the curriculum is really where the benefit of the conversation comes in. And the benefit of the general education grade level content expert being able to speak about what those most important skills are. So that's where we want to see more effective, deeper communication and collaboration. Any questions so far? Okay. So as far as benefits go, as I said, the standard-based IEP goals, we're not restating standards. The standards are how we identify the essential skill that's needed in order to meet the grade level content. So, there is a template there. I know that this presentation is shared with you. If you want to take a look at how we build those objectives to meet the standard, there's a template there that you could observe if you'd like to.
I wonder if we could can we click on that?
Oh, sure.
If I go back into it, I'll be
Sure.
able to click and open it. Okay.
You should be able to
Okay.
hopefully see this now.
Yep. Okay. So then we could probably go into what what Kaylee sent
Absolutely.
us and then and see it. Go back.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
what I was talking about was that condition statement.
Yeah.
So as an objective is written, the condition statement should include what material the student needs, or the setting that it happens in, or an accommodation that's needed, or a piece of assistive technology. Then it's the targeted skill or behavior, which is closely linked to the standard. And then what's the evaluation criteria? How are we measuring the proficiency? It should be by a designated target on an end of unit assessment that's within a passing or a good standing measure, such as an 80% or higher. And then, of course, when we do that by. We also take a look at through the IEP, how are we progress monitoring to measure that objective to make sure the student is targeted to master that objective. And we do progress monitoring closely aligned to the report cards that we distribute. So if we're progress monitoring and we're seeing that somebody isn't meeting success, then our encouragement from our department is you must, convene that PPT meeting to make changes or shifts to the objectives so that the student has what they need to demonstrate mastery. Any questions?
I feel like we do this already in a way, though. I guess I'm just a little off on it. I'm like, when you just said all of those, I'm like, we don't do that now. We do, but I guess I know what you're.
Yeah, so we absolutely should be doing it, and the fact that you say we're doing this now is very validating to me, because that means that you are seeing some of that, you are hearing some of that. What the change or the difference is that the objectives that are being written have to be closely aligned to a grade level standard.
Right.
And that's where the shift and change
Right.
is.
Right.
And in doing that, we're ensuring that we're guiding kids towards mastering more content at grade level, which is, of course, our goal. As I said, with benefits, the benefits are that we will be able to have more students be included within our general education classrooms. If we consider the environment, the content, the materials, the instruction, and how the learning is being measured, and we provide those appropriate condition statements, then what we should be able to see is more students that can be included and not have to come out for more direct instruction. So once again, it boils down to the collaboration of the general education teacher who is providing the instruction, and then what's needed that becomes the accommodation, the modification, the specially designed instruction, and then how the learning is assessed. So we've been talking to teams also about how we assess for learning and what are you measuring for. If you're measuring for content mastery in science, then we're not going to be maybe basing our assessment on written output for somebody who has a written disability. They may be assessed through oral elaboration to give their demonstrated mastery of the content in science or social studies. So it's really trying to take a look at how somebody's brain is wired and making sure that we are clear on our IEPs about how somebody will demonstrate their understanding. So once again, the standards are the what, and that specially designed instruction that involves those buckets are the how. Any questions? All right. We also are truly promoting assistive technology as a venue. The special education, the PPS department invested in Google Read and Write Premium, which is a software tool, but we did so for the whole district. So any teacher, any student has access to Google Read and Write Premium, which is a fantastic tool for accessing curriculum. So it offers masking tools, highlighting tools, talking dictionaries, speech to text, text to speech. It offers the ability for note taking, outline building. So just a fantastic resource that's available to teachers as well as kids for different learning modalities.
And did we show all the teachers during professional development day how to do it?
We did. So we had a presenter from CES who's an assistive technology specialist. guide our high school and intermediate staff through Google Read and Write Premium. We taped that. We did a video of it. And then I believe the curriculum leaders have been working with departments through faculty meeting time or early release to go through the tool as well. One of the greatest benefits of this is it's the idea of all of us have good learning styles. We know what our learning preferences are. So for visual learners, there's great tools. For auditory learners, there's good tools within Google Read and Write Premium. If the teachers are embracing that as universal design and they're using that tool, then more students are going to be apt to use that tool as well. And that removes the barrier of this is a special education tool. It's really more a tool for helping anybody with how their brain's wired and which learning style they resort to. And lastly, we shared out all sorts of resources. The top universal design for learning for specifically designed instruction resource is a great document that was created by the UDL Institute. And really, it takes a look at universal strategies and interventions, as well as breaking it down to accommodations and modifications. And it actually takes it and divides it by reading, writing, and math. We shared out a video about the alignment of the IEP goals to the state standards. That's a video that's provided by the State Department of Education. We provided additional resources to the PPS department. That's self-determination for Texas, as well as the Ohio extended standards. Takes a look at, Ohio did a really nice job with taking a look at the 4 core and providing extension. So thinking about those standards in the most complex, abstract fashion down to concrete demonstration of mastery. So for people that are trying to build designated goals and objectives for students who might be behind grade level or possibly have an intellectual disability, the Ohio can be very, very helpful, or for concrete skills that demonstrate grade level standard mastery. What we don't know in the future, if they will be adding the Connecticut Core transition skills to the IEP for goal consideration, as well as CASEL. That's the social and emotional learning standards, and also the next gen science standards and the C3 for social studies. Currently, those standard banks are not included in CT SEDS, but we don't know in the future if they will be. But for now, for pre-K and for grades K through 12, what our families can expect is that reading, writing, and math will include a standard in the IEP and then the goals beneath it. And really, as I said, the most important takeaways for us, all students are general education students first, and they belong in the general education classroom. All teachers can educate all students. The partnership and the collaboration between gen ed and special ed, those are the keys. And we really look to our general education teachers for their input in designing, because their input is invaluable. They spend the most of the day with the students. So I'm open to any questions that people have.
Any other questions, ladies? Sort of asked as we went along.
And that's all that I have.
Okay. When we have to rewrite, well, now that we're doing the IEPs, slightly different, like you're saying, on writing the goals and objectives, is there any, and you're obviously happy with that change, is there any like additional paperwork load though that comes along to that, or you think it's the same amount of work in a sense to fill it all out?
Yeah, I don't think that it's additional paperwork. I mean, what it involves is they've uploaded the Common Core state standards and linked it to, like, when we build our IEPs in CT Sedge, which is our digital platform, if we indicate by checking the box for reading, then the goal bank appears. So
Okay.
really,
Yeah.
all our teachers need to do, and hopefully they've had the collaborative conversation with their general education counterparts, is they need to identify from the standards which are the targeted standards that are most essential, or where a child is demonstrating significant weakness. And those would be the standards that we would tag. And then the standard appears on the IEP. Below it is the goal statement that links to the standard. And then they write their objective. It really is no more than a check on a drop down. But the collaborative conversation that comes before it,
Of course.
identifying which standard is most essential and most important, is where the valuable work comes into play.
Patty?
No.
You were saying
Oh, yeah,
something.
it's just, it's very similar to something I do, where you're checking a box. Yeah, you check the appropriate boxes for,
The appropriate boxes, right? But it guides you. It's guiding you. So it's
right, right. So they don't have to develop that every time
they don't have to develop it every time of
or
yeah.
write it down every time. It's the box will generate it.
But then they still but they're generating the obviously the end result, the goal.
Right.
But the standards at least comes up for you. Okay.
Mhm.
I just knew that, we obviously changed they changed that whole form on everyone that I still just look at and my head goes crazy, let alone everyone else. You're trying to find something on that. You're so used to the old one. So now with this, it's like, what, is there more changes in that way too?
It will look a little different. In the goal area of the IEP, you will just notice the targeted standard above the goal.
Okay. Okay.
And it's reading, writing, math.
Reading, writing, math. Okay. Okay. Anything else any ladies? Ladies? No? Okay. Yes, then we will move on to thank you, Tracy, for all this information. I appreciate your time. Ken, do you have anything to say? To add to the conversation?
The only thing that I
Thoughts?
want to say is, and I've said this before, every child in Shelton Public Schools deserves an appropriate education. Those programs are going to be diverse for the diverse learners that we have here. And it is just a reality that there is a cost associated with that. So as we see the data and learn more and more about the population we have, I just want the public and the board to advocate for the funding to make this possible for our kids.
I agree. That's sort of where I was still like, just goes back to the data sheet, and my brain is obviously working on, we're in a budget session right now, and, Tracy did a great job last year, presenting to the aldermen. I know that she'll do another, fabulous job again this year, explaining to everyone, where we're seeing these trends. And I think we need to point out that, while we have 920 students identified, it's like, a bucket of these children, are going to continue, some of them, to have this disability no matter what, right? And then you have the other bucket of children that we could work on and try to, get them to graduate. And, but it's, and try to determine with, in your department here on where maybe, that if there was more staff that's needed, where, is it helpful to, put it in the appropriate sections to get these kids to graduate? I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm just talking out loud in my own thoughts here of where I'm going, of like, just looking at those buckets, of, but I don't know. I'm overwhelmed by the numbers. So I'm sort of just talking randomly here. I'm sorry from mumbling. I just, I get concerned with the numbers. I know how hard it is for all of you guys to do all this work. So And well, I guess we're gonna have to just, again, talk to the aldermen during this budget session about the pre-K. We highlight those areas. But it's just gonna show more and more, we need more and more investment into the special ed to try to, tackle these numbers. And I think we should highlight those areas during, I know you'll do it, Tracy. I know you'll do a good job, but. Okay, I'm done mumbling. I'm still just looking at the numbers, putting things in my head here. But that's really it for me. I didn't have anything, specially prepared to talk about. Does anyone else have anything to say? Otherwise, I guess we will probably adjourn. Patty, Kate, Kristen, Tina?
Thank you,
anyone?
Tracy.
Anyone? Okay. Thank you, Tracy, for all your time to put this together, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.